This is your official UFC 257 Dustin Poirier versus Conor McGregor 2 fight prediction. What is up, you guys? Fight Fiend Mix here, coming at you with a new video. As always, thanks for taking the time to stop by and checking it out. In my never-ending quest to make my videos shorter and more condensed, I'm going to try to breeze through this video without rushing. For some reason, every time I try to make my videos short, they end up being way longer than I would like for them to be. And quite frankly, I don't like sitting through long videos, and I'm sure you guys don't. So let's go ahead and get to the topic at hand. This Saturday, January 23rd, UFC 257, Dustin Poirier versus Conor McGregor 2 from Abu Dhabi. It is officially fight week. It's going to go down this Saturday the 23rd on ESPN Plus pay-per-view. So that being said, this is your official UFC 257 Dustin Poirier versus Conor McGregor 2 fight prediction. All right, so let's get to the topic at hand here. I have my handy dandy laptop here to my right, your left. One thing I did want to mention, if you guys notice the poster, the fight poster, has Dustin Poirier on the left, like listed first, and then Conor McGregor on the right, which seemed a little odd. Normally, the A side, the superstar, is on the left. He's the one that's like listed first. But oddly enough, it's actually Dustin Poirier that's first. It's kind of cool though. Don't get me wrong. It's a little bit of a change, considering he's the one that's been more active. And I mean, like, as of late, I realized that Conor was back recently. But it's cool. It's kind of cool. It's a little bit of a change that they have Dustin Poirier listed first and Conor second. So hey, why the fuck not, right? All right. So as with all of my fight prediction videos, I like to take a look at a fighter's most recent fight. When it comes to boxing, generally, I just look at their most recent fight, one most recent fight, I should say. And then in mixed martial arts, I like to take a look at their last three, particularly because MMA is a little bit more unpredictable. And when it comes to boxing, the saying goes that you're only as good as your last fight. I do feel that's more applicable in boxing and not so much in MMA because of its unpredictability. So I like to take a look at a fighter's last three fights. All right. So let me just pull these guys' records here. All right, we're going to start first with Conor McGregor. His most recent fight was January of 2020, so roughly about a year ago. That was his comeback, I guess you want to call it comeback fight, I don't know, against Donald Cerrone. That ended in the first round with TKO kicks. That was a victory for Conor, which, if you guys recall, he basically mopped the floor with Cerrone. It was just, quick style. They clinched. He threw a couple of those shoulder shots that fucked up Cerrone's nose big time and his eye, which I think that was kind of like the in thing to do for the last weeks. It was like the trending thing. Everybody started doing that, like the weeks followed after that fight. Even though professional fighters have been doing that for the longest time. Randy Couture comes to memory. His dirty boxing that he kind of coined. Him and Dan Henderson, they would do that pretty often. So it isn't necessarily new, but it hadn't been seen for a while, and Conor brought it out against Donald Cerrone. All right, so that was January of 2020. Before that was the loss to Khabib Nurmagomedov, the recently retired undisputed lightweight champion, or I guess former, since he gave up the belt. That was in October of 2018, UFC 229. And he lost. That was a neck crank, basically. If you remember, it wasn't under the chin. Khabib had it just kind of over the jaw, which actually hurts quite a bit if you guys have ever been caught in that. If you cinch it in real tight and you get the hand behind the head as if it is a rear naked choke, but the guy's arm is over your jaw, that shit hurts just as much. So he gets Conor gets clowned for being the McTapper, right? That's what they call him, the McTapper. But that's a hard ass neck crank. That shit does hurt. All right. So then before that, it was his UFC lightweight championship win over Eddie Alvarez. That was in November of 2016. That was a TKO by punches victory. That was, if I'm not mistaken, the first UFC event in New York. And if you notice, there's a gap, quite a bit of gap in these fights here. Eddie Alvarez 2016, Nurmagomedov 2018, and then Donald Cerrone 2020. So there's some gap in there. If you remember, that was between me see, between Alvarez and Nurmagomedov. That was when Conor fought Floyd Mayweather, which I guess I can sort of include in here, but it's a boxing fight, so it wasn't mixed martial arts, so I usually don't want to include it in here. But nonetheless, if you want to add that to it, that's his last 4 fights, I guess. So he's 2-2. Maybe we can say that. All right, so Cerrone, Nurmagomedov, Eddie Alvarez, and moving on to Dustin Poirier, the Diamond. Let's see here. His most recent fight against Dan Hooker. I know a lot of my viewers aren't necessarily MMA fans or UFC fans, but primarily boxing. But I highly, highly suggest you guys check that fight out with Dan Hooker and Dustin Poirier. It is a hell of a fucking scrap. As a matter of fact, I think it's free on YouTube. Sometimes the UFC puts, on their YouTube channel, they'll put free fights, and I think that's one of them. So I highly suggest checking that one out because it's a fun scrap. All right. So that one against Dan Hooker was in June of 2020, so roughly 6-7 months ago. That was a victory. It was 5 rounds. The one before that was Khabib Nurmagomedov, a loss to Khabib, of course. Khabib is still undefeated. That was a rear naked choke. It was a submission. That was in September of 2019. That went roughly 3 rounds, or within 3 rounds, I should say. And then the one before that was against Max. Oh, geez. I was going to say Max Kellerman. Fuck. Max Holloway. Blessed. That was at UFC 236 in April of 2019. That was a win for Poirier. As a matter of fact, that was their rematch as well. They had fought previously at 145, and this rematch was at 155. And Poirier came away with the victory. Excuse me. And against Max Holloway. If you guys recall, recently, like was the last Saturday, Max put on a hell of a fucking performance. I mean, like a virtuoso performance against Calvin Kattar. Not to say that Calvin is a top-notch guy, but he was on the way up, and Max basically kept him down. So if you guys haven't seen that fight already, it's kind of a bloodbath. It's it's one-sided. Let's be frank, it's one-sided, but it's a pretty fun fight to watch. We'll see the greatness of Max Holloway. All right, so just to recap on Dustin's last few fights: Dan Hooker, June of 2020, Khabib Nurmagomedov, September of 2019, and then Max Holloway in April of 2019. All right, so if you guys recall, this is actually a rematch because they fought several years back. This was when they were both in at the 145-pound limit, which is featherweight. In mixed martial arts is considered featherweight. Let's see here. So I have their record of this was in September of 2014. So it's quite a bit, quite a while ago. These guys, they've improved, but for the most part, they're the same fighter. They've gotten better, they've gotten heavier. They're there's the next weight class up, but for the most part, they're pretty much the same fighters. They've added a couple of extra little wrinkles to each of their games, but their base, their foundation, their fundamentals are still relatively the same. This is going to be a rematch. Their first fight was won by Conor McGregor in the first round. I have the record here real quick. A minute 46 was the time in the first round. So that didn't go very long. And if you guys recall, I think Conor McGregor was like predicting that this fight would end in 90 seconds or 60 seconds, a minute or something like that. He basically in the first round, similar to Donald Cerrone. Of course, that's his brash predictions. We all know how Conor is, so he talks a shit ton. Whether or not he's going to come through with that, we'll see here, but. Nonetheless, that's his prediction. So this is their second fight. There's a couple of things that play a factor when it comes to rematches. I don't know if it'll play a factor here because it was such a long time ago, 2014. But more often than not, the guy who won last time, Conor in this case, is kind of living rent-free in his opponent's head, in Dustin's head. Unless Dustin just totally forgot about the fight. It's a total different time, different fighter. I'm a new fighter. Very few fighters can actually come back from that. If you guys watch, I was talking earlier with Poirier and Max. That was a rematch, and Poirier won the first time, and Poirier won the second time. Usually, that's how it goes. There are some exceptions, of course. It takes a real strong fighter and a strong mentality to get over that hump and beat the guy who beat you. It's definitely happened, right? We're talking about, let me see here, DC and Stipe. In the rematch, we had a different result. Um, and then let me see, Cain Velasquez and Junior Dos Santos. In the rematch we had a different result. So it does happen. It just takes a real. Oh, and then Chuck Liddell and Randy Couture in the rematch, different result from the first. So it definitely happens, right? It just takes a real strong fighter, and um, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if that's going to happen here because that's the first thing that came to mind is okay. Dustin is thinking about that first fight. He's coming into this fight with a little bit of emotion because he wants to get revenge. That's what he wants primarily is revenge. And of course, I'm not sure if it's already been said or not that this fight is going to be for the title. I don't think it's going to be for the title, at least not that I recall reading. So I was going to say maybe there's a little bit of extra motivation for a potential championship, but I'm sure the winner of the very next fight, is going to be for the championship. So there's still motivation for a title shot there. So that being said, a couple of things. Um, Dustin, starting with Conor, I feel like his time away from the cage is going to kind of affect him here. We've seen him get tired in the later rounds, right? It was started to happen against Chad Mendes. It happened against Nate Diaz, and then of course the grappling heavy, Khabib Nurmagomedov. So there were a couple of times where he was running out of gas late in the fight, and I'm talking about fourth, fifth round. Um, Sort of the same for Dustin, but Dustin has been more active. He's been in the octagon more recently, I guess, and more active. Um, I don't know if the time away is going to really affect Conor. His last fight with Cerrone was really short, so we didn't even really get to see his gas tank. Really, he came in, we saw the high kick, and then the clinch from the beginning, and the shoulder bumps and whatnot, and he was able to take him out pretty quick with, let's be honest, not much resistance. We are talking about a 36, 37-year-old Cerrone, pretty much on the downside of his career. He has quite a bit of miles on his odometer, so we weren't talking about a top-notch dude at 170 by any stretch. But Donald Cerrone, who can throw down anytime, he's the kind of guy that frankly doesn't give a shit about wins or losses. He goes in there and throws down every single time, and he got wiped out by Conor. But we didn't see Conor in there as far as his gas tank goes, so we're not really sure how he's doing. The fight before that was in 2018 against Khabib, late 2018, mind you. So that's the first thing that came to mind. Will this fight go 5 rounds? If so, who has the best cardio? Dustin, I have seen slow down, even in like fast-paced fights, specifically with his fight with Max Holloway. In the second round ish, he kind of started to slow down. He, I want to say, if I'm not mistaken, he stunned Max in that second round. Damn, was it the first? It might have been the first or second, but anyway, he had Max hurt, and he went in for the kill, and he really like blew his wad trying to knock him out, and it didn't happen. Max is a tough dude, as we all know, and he looked like he burned himself out a little bit. So for the rest of that fight, Dustin looked like his hands were pretty heavy. If he makes that mistake with Conor, I don't think he will. I don't think he will. But if he makes that mistake with Conor, there's a pretty good chance that he's going to gas out before Conor. I think, especially if he tends to run out, or if he does run out of gas before the third. Then at that point, I think Conor can take it. So moving on to a couple other strategies here. Both these guys, well, Conor in particular is a southpaw, so he fights in a southpaw stance. Dustin as well. Dustin does tend to switch back and forth, which is kind of one of the sticking points that I have here with my prediction. Um, if you guys watch any of Dustin's fights, he does this thing where he switches stances in the middle of throwing a combination. He goes from southpaw to orthodox. He kind of gets in the southpaw position, right? And then he throws the left hand, and then when he throws the left hand, he brings his left foot forward, and in turn making him orthodox, and then he throws that right hand afterwards, and that has caught Khabib. I mean, I don't think it really hurt him, but it was a clean flush as right hand. He hurt Max with that, and he does that, and he does. It's a great way to cover a lot of distance and close the distance real fast with their opponents. Because one of the things that is different from boxing and mixed martial arts is the distance between fighters. More often than not, you don't get guys shoulder to shoulder doing like the toll booth, or not toll booth. I'm sorry, phone booth. Like fighting indoors in close quarters. It does happen, but there's a lot of clinching, there's a lot of head holding, stuff like that, right? That usually doesn't happen in boxing. So for the most part, when you're throwing punches and the guy is on defense, he gets out of the way completely. He just backs away. He circles away from the cage, but rarely does he like really stay in the pocket, And Dustin is really good, has gotten really good of closing that distance. If you can tell, if you guys remember when he did it with Max, Max was backpedaling a little bit. I won't say backpedaling, but he was backing up, and Dustin was able to close that distance quick enough to land that right hand that hurt Max. So he does that, and I noticed that he generally does that like the early rounds. He tends to kind of forget about it later on because I think it takes a lot out of him. Like it's a lot of energy. That's one of the reasons why guys tend to throw more punches than kicks later on in the fight because your legs are tired and it's just more energy to throw kicks than it is throwing hands. And that move that Dustin does, I think it blows a lot of energy, and I think he's gonna try to pull that off with Conor. However, when I think about Conor, he does something that is um, different than other mixed martial artists in the sense that he's very good at countering. He doesn't. When, as I mentioned earlier, when somebody attacks in mixed martial arts, usually the guy backs away entirely, and he's like, no, I'm not ready to engage. Let me get ready to engage, and I'll engage when I want to. And Connor is very good at countering, stepping out just enough, and then coming back with his left. And he did it with fucking Nate Diaz. He did it with Jose Aldo, and I mean, it's a thing of beauty, really. Like he gets out of the way just enough to miss or to have the opponent miss whatever punch, and then he comes in. He did it with Eddie Alvarez as well. I mean, this is something that's really common in boxing. If you guys see Floyd Mayweather, he does that shit too. Of course, he's orthodox. He gets out of the way just enough, and he lands his right. And sometimes it's not a powerful, right that Floyd lands, but it's just connects. It scores. In other words, he did it against Marquez. He did it against Mosley. He did it against De La Hoya. So he's very, very good at that. Right, his reflexes are very, very good. Connor does that in his mixed martial arts way, in his southpaw way. He's got really good reflexes to the point where he gets out just enough, and he stays in the pocket though. When he's on defense, he doesn't completely go out of the way and like back away or circle away from the cage. He gets out just enough, but he stays in the pocket so he can land his left. Um, I suspect that's going to play a factor here because Dustin throws a lot of wide punches. If you guys watch those fights with Gaethje and Max, he's really throwing, he's winging punches, and they're heavy. Don't get me wrong, they're heavy, and when they land, and they land pretty flush. But he puts a lot of power into them, and it's almost like he never really. I mean, he's almost like he's always throwing for the fences or swinging for the fences. Especially when he's tired, and we all know that Connor has a very tight, like straight down the pipe left, and the straight punches land quicker, and they'll reach their target faster than the winding punches or the circular punches, right? And something about that switch that I feel that Dustin is going to pay for. If as most fight, I'm sure we all have had gloves on at one point or another. We've gone in the ring and got our ass handed to us at some point. Being fans, you never want your feet to be parallel, right? You always want one foot in front of the other. And when Dustin does throw that and he switches, for a brief moment, his feet are parallel, and I don't know if Connor is going to be quick enough to catch him. Even if his feet aren't parallel, I suspect that Connor's timing, I shouldn't say fast because, timing beats speed. I think he's going to be able to time Dustin well enough to catch him in mid-shift, in mid-switch, I should say, for switching from the orthodox or southpaw to orthodox. And I think he's going to catch him. I think he's going to hurt him. I certainly don't think that it's going to be early. I mean, at least not the first 60 or 90 seconds or whatever the fuck, Connor was predicting. But I sense that the fight's going to go into the third. It might. I feel like it's going to end in either the late part of second round or early to mid third round. I don't think it's going to go beyond the third round. I really, really want Dustin to win. I really do because I'm a fan of Dustin's, and he's always fighting for a really good cause, and he's been the interim champion, and I kind of want to see him get that fucking belt. I want to see him get the actual championship belt, not just the interim one. But I don't think it's going to happen. You guys already see where I'm going with this here. I know that Conor is most likely a heavy favorite, but I don't pay too much attention to the odds there. I'm going to have to go with Conor McGregor on this one. If Dustin comes in with an attitude of like, I got to get revenge on this dude, is gonna, is gonna fight emotionally. I don't know if that's gonna work to his benefit, because more often than not, you fight with emotions and you don't think clearly. Um, Connor is very good at walking fighters down. He comes forward. He really, really comes forward. And the only times he really doesn't come forward is when he's hurt, or even in Khabib, his fight with Khabib, where it was really grappling heavy and he was kind of running out of gas. But in this fight, it might benefit Dustin to take the fight to the ground. I don't know if he can take Connor down though, because Connor's got some pretty good takedown defense. It took some strong ass wrestlers like Khabib and even Chad Mendes to keep him, or to take him down and keep him down. And some of the other good grapplers like Nate Diaz. I mean, they didn't even really try for takedowns until Connor was hurt, of course. But um, I don't see Dustin winning this one as much as I would like for him to. I just don't see him winning. I feel like he's gonna get caught. He opens himself up so much when he throws those wide hooks, and when he does that switch, that boom boom that he does, where he switches stance. I feel like Connor's going to be able to capitalize on that. So without rambling on much longer, I'm going to have to go with Conor McGregor. It's going to be a TKO, I would say, or if he's going to stop it, he's going to jump in. It's going to be late second round or early to mid third round. So that's going to be my final prediction. It's going to be Conor McGregor by TKO, late second or early to mid third round. All right, cool. So to not make this video any longer and ramble any longer, as always, guys, I want to sneak in freshcleantees.com. If you feel like checking them out and happen to find something you like, make sure to use the code MIGS15 at checkout and get yourself 15% off of your total. Or if you guys feel like being super clean, make sure to check out these guys here, Tactical Soap by the Grondike Soap Company. It is natural soap, and this is my favorite scent, actually, Maverick. I'll leave it on here. Basically, it's pheromone infused soap, and it's very all natural, and it smells hella good. I like Maverick in particular. That's the scent. If you happen to check them out and want to check them out, and happen to find something you like, make sure to use the code MIGS10 and get 10% off your purchase at checkout, of course. All right, cool. So once more, guys, thank you so much for checking out my video. Hopefully I didn't make it too long. I was trying to make it kind of short and try to rush through this. Let's see what happens this weekend. It's going to be Saturday, once more, the 23rd from Abu Dhabi. As far as I understand, it's going to be a regular time, I guess local time. I'm in Vegas, so it's going to be 7 p.m. That's when the pay-per-view is going to start, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. It's not going to be like last weekend's fight with Max, or even I think tomorrow. Well, I'm recording this on a Tuesday, so Wednesday is going to be Neil Magny and Michael Chiesa, I believe. I think that's going to be early as well. I'm not sure about that one, but anyway, if you guys, by all means, follow me on Instagram. I always post the morning of the fight, the fight schedule, I guess, and the time and everything, and the channel and whatnot, so you guys can check that out. So by all means, follow me on Instagram at FightFiendMigs. Cool. So just to close this, thank you guys once more for checking out this video. Let me know who you guys think is going to win. How? I always love hearing you guys' opinion, whether you agree with me or not. It's always fun hearing from you guys. Thank you once more for checking out my video. Have yourselves a very, very good night. Peace.